Okay, I'm absolutely pumped to jump into today's topic because we're going to unravel what I honestly consider to be the ultimate investing paradox. It's something that completely defies common sense, yet the math proves it time and time again. We're looking at the age-old debate, trying to perfectly time the stock market versus just leaving your money in it. The results we're about to look at, they're going to completely change how you view market risk.
To really get this, you got to meet Barbara. Now, Barbara is, without a doubt, the unluckiest investor who has ever lived. I mean, she doesn't just make bad decisions, she makes the absolute mathematically worst decisions possible. Picture this. Every year, Barbara diligently saves her money, does all her research, waits until she feels totally 100% confident that the market is strong, and then she buys in at the exact moment the market hits an all-time high, right before a massive crash. Literally, every single time.
Let's look at how this disastrous timing actually played out across history. Back in the year 2000, Barbara's feeling great about tech stocks. She buys at the absolute peak. Boom. The dot-com crash hits and wipes out 50% of her portfolio. But hey, she keeps saving. In 2008, the market recovers, she's feeling confident again, and she buys at the absolute top. The financial crisis hits, and she loses 50%, again. Fast forward to 2020, she does it yet again, right before the COVID-19 crash, instantly losing 34% in just 33 days. I mean, Barbara has never, not even once, bought at a good time.
Okay, let's dive into this, because here's the unbelievable twist. By the time Barbara actually reached retirement, she ended up with more money than 80% of American investors, right? It's crazy. How on earth did this historically unlucky investor, someone who bought at the worst possible second every single time, actually win?
3 strategies, shocking results. Let's get into it.
To prove exactly how Barbara pulled this off, we're looking at a 20-year experiment based on real historical data. We've got 3 investor archetypes here. First, there's Barbara, our peak buyer, who accidentally throws her money in at all-time highs right before everything crashes. Next up is Wendy. Wendy is the careful one. She waits for the dip. Her strict rule is she absolutely refuses to buy into a high market. She keeps her cash safely on the sidelines until the market pulls back by at least 10%. She feels super smart and in control. And finally, we have Carl. Carl never invests. He's paralyzed by fear, always waiting for the uncertainty to clear, so he just stays 100% in cash.
So here are the strict rules for this 20-year timeline. Each person has $1,000 to invest at the beginning of every single year for 20 years. That means they each contribute exactly $20,000 total. Now, this analysis uses real S&P 500 historical returns starting in 1990, and it was rigorously put together by researchers at the Archbridge Family Office. Just to be completely clear, this isn't some hypothetical model. This is hard mathematical reality.
All right, 20 years later, Carl, who stayed safely in cash, has exactly his $20,000. But thanks to inflation, he actually lost a massive amount of purchasing power. He's the only guaranteed loser here. Wendy, our patient dip buyer, finishes with a really solid $63,000. But look at Barbara. The investor with the worst timing in recorded history ends up with $72,000. She literally crushed Wendy by $9,000, despite buying at the peak of every single bubble.
So what's really going on here? Let's look at the hidden cost, or what we call the price of patience.
So the crucial point is, why does buying at all-time highs actually outperform waiting? Well, it all comes down to this really simple ratio, 1 out of 3. If you look back all the way to 1928, the S&P 500 has set a brand new all-time high on roughly 1 out of every 3 trading days. I really want that to sink in for a second. 1 out of every 3 days is a record-breaking day in the market. That's wild.
And this brings us to a pretty devastating realization for cautious investors. If you're sitting around waiting for a dip to jump in, you're just sitting in cash, doing absolutely nothing, while the market is continuing its relentless upward momentum a third of the time. You are literally missing out on incredible, compounded growth all because you're waiting for a discount. And honestly, this exposes a bitter irony for people trying to play it safe. By the time Wendy's highly anticipated 10% dip finally arrives, the market has usually already climbed so much that her so-called discounted price is actually 15 to 20% higher than where Barbara initially bought in a whole year earlier. I mean, Wendy waited and waited for a crash, but she's still paying more than Barbara did at that so-called dangerous peak. The absolute mathematical truth of this explainer boils down to this classic rule. Time in the market consistently beats timing the market. The Archbridge researchers proved that getting invested immediately, yes, even at all-time highs, produces way better average returns over decades than trying to time the perfect correction.
But, this begs a massive question.
If the math is just so incredibly clear, why do really smart people still make this timing mistake? Why does putting your hard-earned money into an all-time high feel so deeply terrifying to us? Well, let's pivot from the math over to behavioral psychology for a minute, because honestly, your natural anxiety about this is actually totally valid.
It all comes down to a psychological trap called loss aversion. And listen, this isn't some character flaw. It's a literal evolutionary survival instinct hardwired into our brains. Think about it. For early humans, losing resources meant death. So we are biologically programmed to obsess over potential losses way more than we care about potential gains.
Our brains heavily overreact to threats. The agonizing pain of looking at your portfolio and seeing a $10,000 loss, that feels massive. It's heavy, it completely ruins your week. Meanwhile, the joy of a $10,000 gain just feels kind of nice. It's mildly pleasant, right? So when the market is sitting at an all-time high, our brain starts screaming a false warning signal. Danger, we have way too much to lose right now. And this isn't just a fun theory. Nobel Prize-winning researchers Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky actually scientifically documented this exact phenomenon. They found that the psychological pain of losing money is approximately twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining that exact same amount. So that sinking feeling of danger you get when the news announces an all-time high, that is a scientifically documented trap, one that has cost investors literally trillions in missed gains.
Which brings us to the final trap, missing the best days.
If you let that fear keep you sitting in cash, you run straight into the most devastating mathematical proof of our explainer today. There's a landmark 20-year study of the S&P 500 by Hartford Funds, and it reveals the ultimate penalty of waiting out market volatility. This data is a stark, undeniable warning for anyone out there who thinks they can just pull their money out when things look scary and quietly put it back in when the coast is clear.
And this brilliantly illustrates just how staggering that penalty really is. Look at this. On a 20-year, $10,000 investment, if you just stayed fully invested through all those terrifying crashes, you'd end up with $71,000. But if you tried to time the market and missed just the 10 best days out of roughly 7,300 total trading days, your return gets slashed to 32 grand. What if you missed the 20 best days? You drop to under $16,000. Missing just a tiny fraction of 1% of trading days literally cuts your portfolio by more than half. No way, right? But here is the absolute crucial detail about those best days. They do not happen when the sun is shining and everything is calm and predictable. The best single days happen during periods of insanely high volatility. They occur right after major crashes, hitting exactly when fear is at its absolute peak, and every news outlet is telling you the sky is falling. Cautious investors who are sitting in cash, just waiting for things to feel safe, they miss the recovery completely. Because the second things actually feel stable, the massive gains have already happened. All right, the hidden market risk.
So time in the market beats time in the market for sure, right? Well, actually, hold on a second. Everything we just explored is based on historical U.S. data. And right now, as we sit here in 2026, current conditions have introduced a massive, totally unprecedented complication to this historical data. The U.S. market currently possesses a unique characteristic that we genuinely haven't seen since the year 2000, and frankly, it makes everything we just discussed a whole lot more complex.
Which leads us to the ultimate question. What exactly is this hidden risk lurking in the S&P 500 right now? And how does it change everything we thought we knew about passive investing? Is this time actually different?
Okay, let's dive right into this explainer. You know we looked at some pretty fascinating research. It basically proved something that feels totally counterintuitive for most beginners. Consistent investing actually beats perfect market timing. Time in the market beats timing the market. That conclusion is rock solid, backed by decades of data. But there is a catch, a really crucial one.
Before you run out, open a brokerage account and just dump absolutely everything into an S&P 500 index fund, we kind of need to pause. We need to ask a very important question. What if the historical market that all this research is based on is fundamentally different from the one you can actually invest in today? Because, as we're about to see, the index you buy today is really not what it used to be.
Section 1. The S&P concentration problem, when 500 doesn't mean 500.
See, when you buy this index, it's super common to think you're making 500 equal bets on 500 different companies. But you're not.
at all. Because the S&P 500 is weighted by market capitalization, the bigger the company, the more of your money goes straight to it. So right now, technology stocks alone make up roughly 41% of the entire index. Your money is heavily skewed toward one single sector. And what's wild about that 41% concentration is exactly who is driving it. It's not some massive broad mix of tech companies. No, it is driven by a staggering share of just 7 specific companies: Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, Nvidia, Alphabet, Meta, and Tesla. These 7 megacap giants represent a completely disproportionate share of the index's total market value. To really get why this matters, we have to look back at history. We actually haven't seen this level of extreme concentration since the year 2000, right at the peak of the dot-com bubble. Back then, technology totally dominated the markets, and investors just assumed those giants could only go up. But the Nasdaq ultimately lost 80% of its value over the next 2.5 years, and it took a brutal 15 years just to fully recover. Now let me be super clear here. This does not mean the S&P 500 is a bad investment today. Over the long haul, it has delivered incredible returns. But because it's vastly less diversified today than it's been for most of its history, you're facing a new reality. If those top 7 companies stumble for any reason, it's not just going to be a tiny blip. They are so massive that they will absolutely drag the entire index down with them.
Section 2. Equal weight versus market cap, uncovering the heavy lifters. The easiest way to wrap your head around this is a direct comparison. Data from Guinness Global Investors shows us that on one side you have the standard market cap weighted version. This is exactly what you get when you buy standard S&P 500 funds. Huge mega cap influence and higher recent returns. But on the other side, look at an equal weighted version. In this theoretical setup, every single company, from the mighty Apple all the way down to a tiny regional bank, gets the exact same 0.2% slice. Recently, that standard market cap version has dramatically outperformed the equal weighted one.
And that brilliantly illustrates the core issue. Those few mega-cap stocks have been doing pretty much all of the heavy lifting. The other 490-ish companies, they've actually been significantly underperforming what you'd normally expect from a broad index. So the big takeaway you need from this is that your standard index fund just isn't as broadly diversified as the word index might imply to a beginner.
Section 3. The US versus the world. Zooming out globally. Okay, here's a crazy fact. Let's zoom out to the broader MSCI All-Country World Index, which tracks over 2,500 stocks across developed and emerging markets. Even when investors outside the United States try to build a globally diversified portfolio using it, the U.S. stock market still represents a massive 65% or more of the entire global stock market value. So even globally, the U.S. is absolutely the heavyweight champion.
Which leaves you with a really nuanced choice. Historically, the U.S. has totally outperformed the broader global market, heavily driven by that exact tech dominance we just discussed. So, history favors the U.S. But as we know, past outperformance is never guaranteed to repeat itself. You're looking at a very real trade-off. Do you accept the higher concentration risk of the S&P 500 to chase those historically higher returns, or do you take historically lower returns in exchange for the wider, more stable safety net of a global approach? Neither answer is universally right, but you absolutely must know this trade-off exists.
Section 4. Your 5-step action plan. Navigating concentration risk.
So, how do we actually navigate this without getting completely bogged down in perfect global weightings? Follow this simple 5-step framework. Step 1. Start investing immediately. Every single month you wait for perfect conditions is compounding growth you're losing forever. Step 2. Use dollar cost averaging. Invest a fixed amount automatically on a set schedule to just take all the emotion out of it. Step 3. Consider diversification. Maybe look at an 80-20 split with an international fund like VXUS to dilute that heavy US concentration a bit. Step 4. Please don't over-engineer things. A simple portfolio held for decades will always beat a complex one. And finally, Step 5. Automate your contributions and review everything just once a year. Complexity isn't a virtue, consistency is.
Section 5. The true lesson of investing. The power of consistency.
Let's bring this all back to Barbara, our incredibly successful investor from Part 1, to uncover the overarching truth here. Look, Barbara didn't end up with more money because she was some Wall Street genius or because she perfectly analyzed concentration risk. No way. She succeeded because she ruthlessly executed a basic system. She invested a fixed yearly amount with absolutely zero exceptions. She completely ignored the terrifying headlines when the market crashed, and she ignored all the euphoria when the market was at all-time highs.
If you take nothing else away, adopt this one simple metaphor: just keep planting. Honestly, it doesn't matter if you plant a tree on the sunniest, most beautiful day of the year or the gloomiest, most terrifying day of the year. What matters is that you actually planted the seed. You put it in the ground and you gave it decades to grow, completely ignoring the daily market weather.
Because that is the fundamental math of investing. Money in the market, even money invested with terribly imperfect timing, just relentlessly compounds over time. That is exactly how Barbara turned her initial capital into a massive $72,000 balance. Meanwhile, cash just sitting safely on the sidelines waiting for that perfect time, it's literally just losing value to inflation every single day. Invested money grows, uninvested cash does not.
Which brings us to our final question. The ultimate choice you have to make today isn't about finding the perfect time to jump into the market, and it's not about perfectly dodging concentration risk. It's deciding, will you choose to invest imperfectly and consistently, or will you choose not to invest at all? Making that choice right now is worth more than any market timing strategy ever invented.